The night sky above the valley was wide and empty, filled with cold light from distant stars. Eli Harper stood near his dying farm, his boots sinking into dry soil. Once this land had fed his family for generations. Now it was nothing but dust, wind, and broken dreams. The rain hadn't come in months. His crops were gone. The last cow had fallen 2 days ago. Even the machines that used to help him had stopped working. He stood in silence, staring at the land he loved, knowing tomorrow the government men would come to take it all away. Eli was a man who had already lost too much. His wife, his parents, his hope. The farm had been the last thing holding him together. Now he felt like a ghost walking through a memory. The only sound was the soft hum of the night wind passing through the metal fence. Then suddenly something strange cut through the quiet. A deep, low vibration that made the ground tremble under his boots. He looked up and saw a streak of fire crossing the sky. It wasn't a shooting star. It was too large, too slow, and it burned with a strange blue light. The object tore through the clouds, shaking the air, then crashed beyond the western hill in a burst of light so bright it turned night into day. Eli's heart raced. For a moment he just stood there frozen. Then curiosity, or maybe desperation, pushed him to move. He grabbed his flashlight and his old rifle and ran toward the glow. The air smelled like burning metal and wet stone. As he climbed the hill, he saw smoke rising and heard a faint humming sound like music made of light. When he reached the crash site, he stopped, speechless. There, half buried in the earth, was something that didn't belong on this world. It wasn't a ship made by humans. Its surface looked like liquid glass, still glowing faintly with blue veins of energy. And in the middle of the wreckage, he saw her. A woman, or something close to a woman, was lying on the ground, surrounded by sparks of soft light. Her skin was pale with a faint silver glow, and her hair moved slowly as if underwater. Eli dropped his rifle and rushed forward. She was breathing, but weakly. Her lips moved, whispering something he couldn't understand. When he knelt beside her, she suddenly opened her eyes that shimmered like stars. And then she spoke, clear and soft, in perfect English. "Eli Harper," she said. Eli froze. His name, he hadn't told her anything. "How do you know my name?" he whispered, fear rising in his chest. She tried to smile, but her body trembled. "Because I came for you." Eli didn't know what to say. None of this made sense. She was hurt, strange, and glowing, but something in her eyes felt alive, kind, and deeply sad. Against all reason, he picked her up carefully. She was lighter than he expected, warm to the touch. He carried her back through the dark fields, past the dying crops and silent machines. The sky behind him still glowed faintly blue. When he reached his farmhouse, he laid her on the old couch near the fireplace. He wanted to call someone, maybe the local sheriff, but something inside told him not to. If the government found her, they would take her away. Maybe worse. He didn't even know who she was, yet he couldn't leave her. He covered her with a blanket and watched her sleep. Through the night, strange things began to happen. The air inside the house felt warmer. The fire burned brighter without more wood. When Eli looked outside at dawn, the soil near the window was no longer dry. It was wet and dark, as if it had rained only there. He touched it, confused. Then he saw something green, a small plant, fresh and alive, pushing through the ground. Eli turned back toward the couch. The woman was awake now, sitting quietly, her silver eyes watching him. "Who are you?" he asked softly. She tilted her head. "My name is Lyra." He stepped closer. "Where did you come from?" She looked toward the sky, her voice calm but distant. "Far away. A place with no death. Only light." Eli didn't understand, but the sadness in her voice made his heart ache. For the first time in years, someone, or something, was in his home again. The silence that had once haunted him was gone. As he stared into her glowing eyes, the wind outside began to move differently. The leaves of the dead trees shivered, though there was no storm. Deep inside, Eli felt that his life, broken and hopeless, had just changed forever. He didn't know it yet, but the woman from the stars would not only rebuild his land, she would rebuild his soul. Morning light slipped through the old curtains, touching Lyra's silver skin. She sat by the window watching the fields outside, quiet, endless, and almost dead. Yet something inside her eyes glowed softly, as if she could already see life returning. Eli Harper stood near the stove, making weak coffee. He kept glancing at her, unsure if she was real or just another dream of a lonely man. She looked human, but not quite. The air around her seemed to hum, gentle, warm, alive. He cleared his throat. You should rest. You were hurt. Lyra turned her head slowly. I heal fast, she said. Her voice was smooth, calm, and somehow musical. Eli frowned. You said you came for me. What does that mean? Lyra's lips curved in a faint smile. It means your story isn't finished yet. By the second day, Eli noticed the difference. The broken machines outside started to blink with weak light as if waking from a long sleep. The soil near the barn turned darker, richer. He hadn't watered it. At night, when Lyra walked barefoot on the field, the ground under her feet glowed faintly blue, like moonlight trapped in the dirt. She hummed softly, strange sounds, not words. Wherever she stepped, small green shoots appeared. Eli tried not to stare, but he couldn't help it. There was something peaceful about her, something he hadn't felt in years. A week later, people started asking questions. Who's the woman staying at your place, Eli? One of his neighbors asked, leaning over the fence. Eli scratched the back of his neck. My wife, he said without thinking. The man laughed. You married again? To someone that young? Eli forced a smile. She came from far away. After that, he didn't correct anyone. It was easier that way. Let them believe she was his wife. It protected her, and it gave him something he secretly wished was true. That night, as the two of them sat near the fireplace, Lyra looked at him with those soft, glowing eyes. Why did you lie for me? Eli shrugged. Because people fear what they don't understand. And I think, I'm not ready to lose you yet. Lyra looked at him for a long time. Then she smiled, a small, fragile smile. Then I'll stay. Days turned into weeks. The farm began to change faster. The once dead fields turned green again. Flowers bloomed where only dust had been. Even the wind felt warmer. The animals returned to life, stronger, calmer. Every morning, Eli woke before dawn just to watch her walk through the mist, touching the crops gently with her hands. It was like she was singing to them. But strange things followed. The lights above her bed never worked right. The power flickered whenever she felt upset. And sometimes, when Eli entered the room suddenly, he saw symbols of light floating in the air, like messages from another world, before they vanished. One night, Eli woke to a strange sound. A deep hum echoed from outside. He grabbed his rifle and went to the porch. Lyra stood in the middle of the field, her arms raised to the stars. The ground beneath her shimmered with circles of light. Her eyes were closed, her hair floating like smoke. Lyra, he shouted. She turned slowly. The glow faded. I was listening, she said quietly. Listening to what? To home, she whispered. But they don't answer anymore. Her voice trembled for the first time. Eli lowered his gun. He didn't understand what she meant, but he saw fear in her eyes. A deep, quiet fear that made him step closer. She looked at him as if deciding something important. Eli, promise me, she said. If someone comes here asking about me, say you know nothing. He nodded without question. From that night on, Lyra changed. She spoke less. She spent more time near the soil, digging, touching, humming. The crops grew taller, faster. The fruit had silver patterns on their skin. The air smelled fresh, new, alive. But one evening, when Eli brought her food, he saw her sitting on the porch, her hand pressed to her chest. There was a soft blue light shining through her skin like a second heartbeat. Are you okay? He asked worried. Lyra nodded weakly. It's only my core, she said. It helps me heal, but... She paused, her eyes distant. It also calls them. They will come. Who will come? My people, she said softly. And when they do, they must not find me. Eli didn't sleep that night. He sat by her side, watching her breathe, listening to the faint hum of her heartbeat glowing through the blanket. Outside, the wind blew across the fields, whispering through the tall green crops that hadn't been alive a month ago. He looked at her and realized something strange. For the first time in years, his house wasn't silent. For the first time, he wasn't alone. But somewhere deep inside, he felt it. The calm before a storm. Something was coming. Something powerful. And Eli Harper, the broken farmer, would soon have to decide what kind of man he truly was. A survivor, a protector, or something much more. The morning began with silence. The kind of silence that felt alive. Eli Harper walked outside with his cup of weak coffee, expecting to see the same dry land. But what he saw made him stop. The fields were green. Not a patch here or there in all of them. Grass shimmered like glass under sunlight, and tall stalks of golden wheat moved in a soft wind that hadn't existed yesterday. Eli blinked, confused. His farm had been dead for months. Now it looked like spring had arrived overnight. He turned toward Lyra. She stood barefoot among the crops, her hair glowing faintly in the light. Her fingers brushed the plants, and wherever she touched, life seemed to bloom stronger. "Lyra," he called. She turned with a calm smile. "It listens to me now." "What listens?" "The soil," she said softly. "It remembers," Eli frowned. "Soil doesn't remember, Lyra. It's just dirt." Lyra shook her head slowly. "On my world, everything remembers. The wind, the ground, the light. Your world has forgotten how." Her words confused him, but the beauty of the moment silenced his doubts. The scent of life filled the air. Birds had returned to the fence. Bees danced above the new flowers. The old farm that had been dead now pulsed like a living heart. By evening, the changes grew stranger. The machines, the ones that had been broken for years, began to hum. The old irrigation pipes clicked, releasing clear water, though Eli hadn't touched the power grid. He tested one of the old harvest drones. The screen flickered, and to his shock, it worked. How did you do this?" he asked. Lyra smiled but said nothing. She only placed her palm on the soil, and a faint blue light spread under her hand, fading into the earth like a gentle pulse. The next morning, Eli drove to town to sell his new crops. The market was full of eyes watching him. "Thought your farm was finished, Harper," one man said. "How'd you fix it?" "Just a bit of luck," Eli replied. "Luck doesn't make dead land bloom overnight," the man said suspiciously. "What are you hiding?" Eli forced a laugh. "Guess I'm just good with dirt." He left quickly before the questions got sharper. Back home, Lyra was waiting near the barn. She looked worried. "They noticed," she said softly. Eli sighed. "Yeah, people talk. They always do." Lyra stepped closer. "You must not let them come here. They can't see what's under this land." "What do you mean?" She looked toward the hills. "Something old sleeps here. My people planted it long ago, before your kind walked this planet." Eli froze. "You mean there's alien stuff under my land?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Not stuff, life." Her eyes glowed brighter for a moment, then dimmed again. "It woke when I arrived. That's why your crops live now. But if others disturb it, it will defend itself." That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He stood on his porch, staring at the bright fields glowing under the moonlight. They weren't normal crops. Their roots shimmered faintly as if filled with light. He turned his gaze to Lyra's window. She was sitting there, eyes closed, humming softly. The same strange melody that had filled the crash site weeks ago. The ground seemed to hum with her. 3 nights later, the silence broke. A loud buzz echoed across the field. Eli stepped out and saw a drone hovering above his property. A government scout. Its red light scanned the crops, then turned toward the house. "Lyra," he shouted. "They found us." She ran outside, eyes glowing. "Stay back." The air around her shimmered. The drone froze mid-air, then fell to the ground, silent and smoking. Eli's mouth fell open. "What did you just do?" Lyra's voice was calm but heavy. "I only stopped it, but they will come now. They always come when they lose control." The next morning, Eli tried to act normal. He fixed fences, fed animals, and avoided the main road. But deep inside, he felt it. The calm before another storm. Lyra spent hours in the fields, drawing strange shapes in the dirt, circles and lines that glowed faintly blue before fading. When Eli asked, she said, "I'm trying to protect us." "From who?" "From both worlds," she whispered. That night, Eli woke to the sound of crying. Lyra sat by the window, tears glowing faintly as they rolled down her silver skin. "I broke their law for love," she whispered, not knowing he was awake. Eli sat up slowly. "Lyra, what did you mean by that?" She looked at him, eyes full of stars and sorrow. "You'll know when the stars call again," she said softly. And then she closed her eyes, leaving him with a silence that felt too deep, too heavy, too alive. Outside, the wind carried the scent of green life across the valley. The soil glowed faintly under the moon, and somewhere deep beneath the surface, maybe something began to stir. Eli Harper didn't know it yet, But the farm wasn't just alive, it was awakening. Morning came with strange light. The sky was gold and pale blue, as if the sun itself was watching something happen below. Eli Harper walked through the fields, his boots brushing against tall silver wheat. The soil under his feet was warm, too warm. When he dug a small patch with his shovel, something hard glimmered beneath the roots. He bent down, brushing the dirt away. What he saw made his hands freeze. It wasn't a rock. It was a crystal, glowing faintly blue like frozen lightning. He dug more. Another one appeared, then another. Soon the entire patch shimmered under the light, filled with crystals like hidden veins of treasure. "Lyra," he shouted. She came running from the house, her silver hair glowing in the sunlight. When she saw what he had uncovered, her face changed. Not with joy, but with fear. "Cover it," she whispered. Eli blinked. "What, why? This could change everything." "Look at it." Lyra knelt beside him, touching one of the crystals. It pulsed softly under her palm, as if alive. Then she looked at him, eyes serious. "It's not gold, Eli. It's not even a mineral. It's life," he frowned. "Life? It's a rock, Lyra." She shook her head. "Not a rock. It's part of something bigger. My people called it Leora. It grows where energy is pure. It heals, it feeds, it remembers." Eli stared at her. "Then why hide it?" "Because it's dangerous," she said softly. "Too much life in one place can destroy what's around it." He didn't believe her, not completely. But part of him knew she wasn't lying. Still, his mind ran wild. If he sold just one piece, he could pay off his debts. He could rebuild the farmhouse. He could finally live. That evening, when Lyra went inside, Eli picked one small shard and wrapped it in cloth. He told himself it was only a test, only to see what it was worth. He drove to the nearby town, to an old trading post where miners sold rare stones. The trader, an old man with a scanner eye, took one look and whistled. "Where'd you find this, Harper?" Eli shrugged. "Just picked it off the ground." The man scanned it again. "This isn't from Earth, it's pure energy crystal. Off-world grade. If I'm right, this little thing could power a whole colony for a month." Eli's heartbeat quickened. "How much?" The trader looked nervous. "Too much for you, and too much trouble. My advice? Hide it." Eli left with the shard still in his pocket, but now he felt the weight of it. Not just money, but danger. When he returned home, Lyra was waiting on the porch. Her eyes glowed softly. "You took one," she said. Eli froze. "How do you—" She cut him off. "The earth told me." He stared, guilt washing over him. "I just wanted to help us." "I thought—" "I know," she said gently. "You want to rebuild what you lost. But this is not fortune, Eli, it's memory. My people planted this here long ago, before your kind even had fire. It was meant to sleep forever." She looked toward the fields, her voice shaking. "But when I came, it woke. Now it's calling." "Calling who?" Eli asked. "My people," she whispered, "and others who want it." 2 days later, men from the government arrived. 3 black trucks parked outside the gate. A man in a suit stepped out, his badge shining in the sun. "Mr. Harper," he said, "we received reports of unusual energy readings from your property. We'll need to take samples." Eli's heart pounded. "There's nothing here but soil and grain." The man smiled thinly. "Then you won't mind us checking." They walked through the fields, their devices buzzing softly. Lyra stood at the door, silent, her eyes never leaving them. When one of the agents dug near the crystal patch, the scanner exploded in sparks. The ground beneath him glowed blue for a moment, then went dark again. "What was that?" the man barked. Eli forced a calm voice. "Maybe static from the soil." The agent didn't believe him, but he backed away, muttering into his radio. When they left, Lyra turned to Eli. "They will return," she said, "and next time they will bring soldiers." That night the air was heavy. Eli couldn't sleep. He walked outside, staring at the glowing fields. Lyra stood by the crystals, her face lit with soft blue light. Her voice was quiet. "I can't reach my home anymore. The link is broken. I'm fading." Eli stepped closer. "What can I do?" "Nothing," she whispered. "If I die, the land will die with me." He felt a cold weight in his chest. "Then I'll keep you alive." Lyra smiled faintly, her eyes shimmering with tears. "You already have." But as the night deepened, the soil began to pulse faster, brighter. The air shimmered with power. The wind carried a strange sound, a distant, mechanical hum from the stars. Lyra looked up, her expression filled with both awe and fear. "They've found us," she whispered. Eli followed her gaze. And far above, beyond the clouds, a faint blue light was falling toward the earth once more. The next morning was too quiet. The air didn't move. The sky felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. Eli Harper sat on the porch, staring at the horizon. The blue glow from the soil had dimmed overnight. The crops were still alive, but something inside them looked tired. Lyra stood near the barn, her silver hair moving gently even though there was no wind. Her face was pale, her glow fading. "You're weaker," Eli said softly. She nodded. "The connection is breaking. The energy under this land is waking too fast. I can't control it anymore." Eli stepped closer. "Then tell me what's really happening, Lyra. No more secrets." For a long time, she said nothing. Then she sat down on the steps, looking at the fields that had once been dead. "My world," she began slowly, "is called Arendor. It was once like this one, green, full of life. We had power beyond human science. We could shape light into food, grow cities that healed themselves." Her voice trembled. "But we wanted more. We wanted to make life that never ended. So we created Leora, the living energy buried beneath your soil. It could rebuild anything, cure anything, even death." Eli listened quietly. The wind carried her voice like a whisper from another time. "At first," Lyra continued, "it was perfect, but then it began to think for itself. It chose what should live and what should die. It stopped listening to us. My people panicked. Some wanted to destroy it, others wanted to control it." She looked at Eli, eyes glowing faintly again. "The war that followed burned our skies. So we sealed Leora in deep space inside small planets, sleeping worlds. Yours is one of them." Eli's mouth went dry. "You mean Earth was a prison?" Lyra nodded slowly. "A sanctuary for life, yes. But also a cage for power." Eli rubbed his face, trying to understand. "So why are you here? Why you?" Lyra's lips trembled into a sad smile. "Because once, long ago, I fell in love with a human." Eli froze. "What?" She nodded. "He was an explorer from your world. He found Arendor by accident centuries ago. My people called him a thief, but I saw something else in him. Courage, kindness, something raw and beautiful. I gave him part of my energy to help him live among us. But my people saw that as betrayal. They banished me, erased his name, and sent me to watch over a dead world." Her eyes softened. "Your world?" Eli looked away, his throat tight. "You said you came for me. Was that true?" Lyra reached out, touching his hand gently. "Yes. You carry his blood, Eli. His line never died. When I saw your name, I knew. The seed of what I loved still lived." Eli's breath caught. "So, all this, the farm, the crystals, it's all connected to me?" "Yes," she whispered. "Your family's land sits on one of the deepest veins of Leora. That's why it chose to wake when I arrived. It remembers your blood." A low rumble shook the ground. The house creaked. The wind turned cold. Eli jumped to his feet. "What's happening?" Lyra's expression hardened. "They're coming. My people. The keepers of Arendor. They want to erase this place before humans can use the power." "But this is your home now," Eli shouted. Tears shimmered in her glowing eyes. "It was never meant to be mine. I broke their law by loving a human again. Now they'll come for me." The sky cracked open with light. Far above, a faint shadow of a ship appeared, massive, silver, and silent. Eli grabbed her shoulders. "We can run, hide." Lyra shook her head. "You can't outrun gods, Eli." The ground beneath them pulsed, and a ring of blue light spread across the field like ripples in water. The crystals beneath the soil began to hum, responding to her heartbeat. She placed her hands on the ground. "I can still protect you, but I need your help." "What can I do?" he asked. "Trust me," she whispered. "No matter what happens, don't let them take the soil. It's the heart of this world." That night, lightning danced across the sky without thunder. The air was electric, alive. Eli stood at the window watching the storm of lights form above the farm. Lyra stood outside in the rainless storm, her body surrounded by a soft glow. He wanted to go to her, but something held him back. A feeling that he was watching the beginning of something much larger than both of them. When she returned inside, she was weak, her glow flickering like a candle. She smiled faintly. "I've slowed them down, but they will not stop." Eli helped her sit. "Then we'll face them together." Lyra looked at him, eyes full of warmth. "You sound like him," she whispered. "Who?" "The man I once loved," she said. "The one who taught me that love is stronger than power." Outside, thunder rolled across the horizon. In the sky, the alien ship grew larger, brighter, a silver moon rising to claim its lost child. Eli Harper took a deep breath, his hands trembling but his eyes fierce. He had been a broken man once, a farmer with nothing left to lose. Now he stood ready to fight for the only thing that had ever given his world meaning. Lyra's past had finally caught her. And soon it would come for him too. The storm didn't bring rain, it brought light. Blue lightning twisted through the clouds, but there was no thunder. The sky looked alive, like something inside it was tearing its way out. Eli Harper stood in the doorway of his farmhouse, rifle in hand. Lyra stood beside him, her glow faint but steady. The ground trembled beneath their feet. "They've arrived," she whispered. A sound filled the air. Low, deep, like 1,000 voices humming together. From the clouds a shape descended, a ship, massive and silent, its surface reflecting the storm. Eli's breath caught. "They're here for you." Lyra shook her head slowly. "No, Eli. They're here for the world." He looked at her, confused. "Then why land here?" "Because this land is awake," she said. "They can feel the energy. The Leora has chosen to live again, and they will try to destroy it before humans can use it." A beam of white light struck the field, flattening the crops in a wide circle. Figures appeared, tall, silver-armored beings with faces like glass. Their eyes glowed cold blue. One stepped forward, speaking in a deep, echoing voice. "Lyra of Arendor, you broke the bond. You will be erased." Eli raised his rifle. "Stay away from her." The alien turned its glowing eyes toward him. "This human defends corruption." Lyra stepped in front of Eli. "He defends love." The air pulsed. For a moment, the ground itself shivered with light. The alien commander raised his arm. "Remove her." Before Eli could move, beams of light shot toward them. Lyra raised her hands and a shimmering wall appeared around them, rippling like water. The beam struck it and vanished, leaving smoke in the air. Eli blinked in shock. You're fighting them?" Lyra's voice shook. "Not for me. For you. For this world." The ground cracked open behind them. Blue crystals erupted like jagged teeth, humming loudly. The air grew thick with energy. The soil itself glowed brighter and brighter. Eli stumbled back, shielding his eyes. "What's happening?" Lyra's voice trembled. "The Leora is awake. It's protecting us, but it's not stable." One of the aliens shouted, "Contain it!" and pointed his weapon at the ground. A pulse of white energy shot into the soil, and the entire field exploded with light. When the glow faded, Eli found himself lying on the ground, ears ringing. The house was half broken, smoke rising from the roof. The aliens were still standing, but so was Lyra. She floated slightly above the ground now, her body glowing brighter than ever before. Her voice echoed, layered with 1,000 tones. "You will not touch him." The commander raised his weapon. "You are no longer one of us." Lyra smiled sadly. "Then I am finally free." She spread her arms and light burst from her palms. It flowed into the soil, the air, the trees, and into Eli. He gasped. A warm surge filled his chest. His skin glowed faintly. His heartbeat matched hers. Lyra, what did you— I shared my life with you, she said softly. Now we fight together. Eli stood, feeling energy race through his veins. When the aliens fired again, he raised his hand, and to his shock, a wave of light burst outward, knocking them back. He stared at his glowing hand, stunned. I can feel the earth. Lyra smiled through tears. You're connected to it now. The land remembers you. The aliens regrouped. Their leader shouted, "End this!" Dozens of white beams fired at once. Lyra and Eli stood side by side. They closed their eyes and let the light flow. The ground erupted, sending a wave of blue fire racing across the field. The air filled with energy, wind, and sound, like the planet itself roaring in defense. The aliens tried to retreat to their ship, but the Leora's power reached up like living roots wrapping around them, pulling them into the glowing soil. Eli shouted over the chaos, "It's too much, you'll burn yourself out!" Lyra's body was fading, her glow breaking apart like dust in sunlight. "It's the only way," she said. "If I stop now, they'll come again. I must seal it, one last time." He grabbed her hand. "You can't, you'll die." She looked at him with soft eyes. "You gave me love, Eli, I give you life." He shook his head, tears falling. "No, please don't leave me." Lyra smiled, her form flickering. "You'll never be alone again. I'm part of this land now. Part of you." She kissed his forehead, and in that moment, everything stopped. The storm vanished, the sky cleared. The ship exploded in a silent flash of light, fading into the stars. Eli fell to his knees as the glow faded. The fields were quiet again. Where Lyra had stood, only soft silver dust remained, glowing faintly like morning dew. The soil around him pulsed once, then went still. He whispered, voice shaking, "Lyra." The night that followed was still. The farm was alive, glowing softly, breathing quietly, like it was dreaming. Eli sat alone on the porch, his hands still faintly glowing. He looked at the stars and whispered, "You didn't just save the world, you saved me." The wind moved through the wheat, carrying her voice. Soft, distant, loving. "I never left, Eli." The morning after the storm felt unreal. The sky was soft gold, the air gentle. There was no sound of thunder, no hum of alien ships, and only wind brushing through the green fields. Eli Harper opened his eyes slowly. He was lying in the middle of his field, surrounded by shimmering crops that glowed faintly in the sunlight. His hands were buried in the soil, and it was warm, alive. He sat up, dizzy. The farmhouse stood in the distance, half broken but still standing. For a moment he thought it had all been a dream. Then he saw the light. A faint blue glow rippled beneath the ground, spreading like quiet waves under his feet. The same energy that once threatened to destroy everything now pulsed softly, calm, peaceful. He looked at his palms. They still glowed faintly, like small stars trapped beneath his skin. Her gift, her touch, her life, Lyra, he whispered. The wind moved through the wheat, carrying her scent, that same soft, electric sweetness. He could almost hear her voice, warm and gentle. "I'm still here, Eli." Days passed. People from the nearby towns came to see his farm, whispering about the miracle. "Look at this," one said. "Nothing grows like this anywhere else." "Must be new soil tech," another guessed. Eli said little. He let them talk, let them wonder. No one saw the truth, that his land was alive because love had taken root beneath it. He stopped selling his crops. He didn't need to. He didn't care about money anymore. All he wanted was to keep the place as it was, a living memory. At night, the farm glowed faintly blue. Every leaf, every blade of grass shimmered like it was touched by starlight. The animals moved slowly, calm and quiet, as if they understood they were part of something sacred. Eli sat on the porch each night, watching the light spread across the valley. Sometimes he spoke to the wind. Sometimes the wind answered. He had lost her body, but not her presence. Lyra was still there, in the soil, in the air, in the quiet heartbeat of the land. One evening, while walking near the old barn, Eli saw something strange. Amid the tall wheat, a single flower glowed brighter than all the rest. It wasn't like any plant he'd seen before. Its petals shimmered silver, and at its center pulsed a faint blue light like a heartbeat. He knelt beside it, eyes wide. Lyra! The glow grew stronger for a moment, as if answering him. He smiled, tears forming. You're still here, aren't you? The light flickered softly. Yes, seasons changed. The government never returned. The alien skyships never came back. Only quiet, endless days of sunlight and growth. Eli rebuilt his farmhouse by hand. He kept it small, simple, filled with warmth. On the wall near the window, he placed a silver locket he'd found after the battle, Lyra's. Inside it was a small crystal shard, still glowing faintly. Every morning he touched it gently and whispered, "Good morning." And every evening, when the sun went down, the fields glowed a little brighter, and as if answering, "Good night," years passed. Eli's hair turned gray, but his eyes stayed young. The land never withered. The crops never failed. Neighbors called it the miracle farm. Some even prayed facing its hills, believing the soil had divine blessing. Eli never corrected them. He knew the truth. It wasn't divine. It was love. Love strong enough to change a planet. One night under a silver moon, he stood in the middle of the field again. The glowing flower had grown into a small tree, its branches humming softly. He placed his hand on its trunk and felt warmth rush through him. For a brief moment, the world around him disappeared. He stood in a field of light, endless, peaceful, and there she was, Lyra. She looked the same as before, glowing, beautiful eyes full of stars. She smiled softly. "You kept your promise." Eli's voice trembled. "You said I wouldn't be alone." "And you never were," she whispered. "Every sunrise, every breath of wind, I was with you." He reached for her hand, but his fingers touched only light. It didn't matter. Her warmth still reached him. The vision faded. Eli stood alone again, but the wind wrapped around him like an embrace. He looked up at the night sky, full of stars, full of her. "She rebuilt my farm," he said softly, smiling through tears, "but she also rebuilt my heart." The wind whispered back, gentle, loving, eternal, and as he walked back to his porch, the blue light followed his steps, glowing faintly behind him, the light of a love that had outlived worlds.